Hey there, Facebook meteorologist Daniel Phillips back with you. We're going to try this again. We've got our audio issues figured out here, and we're going to dive into the forecast and talk about what you can expect now that that advisory has come out. This is going to be the first one. This is for Tropical Depression 9. I do believe that by the time we get to maybe as early as tonight, this could be Tropical Storm Ida that we are talking about, and we'll go through the whole forecast. Just real quick, what's going to happen now for those who are unfamiliar? Every 3 hours, we're going to be getting updates from the National Hurricane Center. The next one is due out at 1 o'clock. Those are known as the intermediate advisories. They update position, strength of storm, speed, pressure, things like that. The next track update is going to come out at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And that's when they'll kind of go in and adjust the track. We'll get into all that in a sec. Let's take a look at the storm as it stands right now. This is what the satellite and radar picture looks like. And you can see the low listed right there with some convection on the northern side, and that is where we were seeing some of the convection out there earlier. We were seeing it kind of flare up out over towards Jamaica, and we were seeing that kind of blossom up and get going. And now we've got the low that's centered around it, and from there should be seeing more convection and kind of more structure start to emerge within that system as well. So let's take a look at that track here. Knowing what we know, this is what the track looks like as far as the National Hurricane Center is concerned. And it follows very close with the Euro model, which we will take a look at. The initial intensity on this eventually brings it up towards Louisiana as a Category 2 storm. We'll get to that in just a bit. But I want to talk about the next sort of 24 hours, because that's going to be important. What's going to be important here is we want to know what this thing is going to look like as it emerges from the Caribbean and out into the Gulf of Mexico. And the reason for that is warm water sits right here, very warm water, in fact. So that's going to be able to feed into a storm and allow it to strengthen. Now, there may be a little bit of shear coming off of Mexico on the western side of this storm, and that's going to be the only thing that's going to be battling against it. A more organized storm is going to be in a better position to battle back against that shear and continue to strengthen, which is what the National Hurricane Center is predicting is going to happen. And from that, we can kind of say, well, the final intensity is largely going to be dictated, again, by the structure of this storm as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, how it's able to battle back that shear, and how much of that warm water it's going to tap into. As of right now, it looks like a maybe early Sunday, kind of midday landfall down along the coast. Let's go ahead and call it Sunday midday for now. Now, the timing is certainly set to change. This thing is moving in a little bit faster than they had originated, and until the hurricane hunters kind of get down there and take a look, we're kind of guessing at to the movement right now just based off of satellite. Hurricane hunter data is going to tell us a lot. So what we'll call it now is midday. That could arrive a little earlier, could arrive a little bit later. We don't want to get hooked on one particular forecast. This is going to be a marathon. We got to keep watching this thing, which means that we could feel impacts from this storm as early as maybe Saturday late night. You could get those tropical storm force winds. From there, it brings that strong Category 2 storm, winds about 110 miles an hour. So that is borderline almost Category 3 storm, which would be considered a major hurricane. And that possibility is certainly going to be on the table. Intensity forecasts are very, very difficult. And I think it's telling that they're kind of starting with a Cat 1, Cat 2 type of forecast. And we'll see how that trends. Again, you'll get an intensity and a track update later on, coming up at about 4 o'clock. From there, things kind of slow down a little bit. It really hits the brakes and goes from the coastline up through northern parts of Acadiana throughout the course of the day on Sunday. And that could bring a tremendous amount of rainfall. Early estimates probably put it in the 10 to 15 inch range. That would be good for flash flooding. It would be good for inland flooding as well. So those are what we're going to have to look out for on top of all the winds, which again could be gusting higher than that. And I've seen gusting as high as 115, 120 on some of those models right now, sustained along the coast, and right along the center, sustained at about 110. But those winds will stretch out further than just the center. From there, it finally makes its way out of here. And this adheres very closely to the European model, which has some flaws, and the timing is different. And I do want to stress that this is one single model run out of dozens that we've looked at over the last couple of days. But this is the latest one coming in from the Euro, and this is the one that seems to be leaning a little bit more towards the track, and we'll talk about where some of the differences lie as well. It seems to do a pretty good job picking up on where that low is, so it seems to initialize at a pretty good place. And the short-term forecast looks right on as well, kind of clipping Cuba and getting into the Gulf of Mexico right around that range. Works its way up into the Gulf of Mexico where it then starts to strengthen. And I think that we will start to see maybe some rapid strengthening as it does get into the Gulf of Mexico. So it will take a while to go from depression to storm, but I don't think it's going to take a long time to go from storm to hurricane and then start going up the category ladder. Again, hoping that it arrives as weak as possible, but it looks like right now maybe a category 2 storm. This model in particular runs slower than what that track is. This is 4 a.m. on Sunday, and you still kind of see it sitting offshore, really slows down, and then a landfall early Monday morning. If that's the case, it will build a little more time for it to strengthen, and that's what this model is doing as well. Again, it goes away from that forecast that we're thinking, the overall forecast, but it can't be ruled out. But you don't want to ride on this entirely, because that could get you into trouble as well. And this seems to be the one that the forecast track is kind of sticking the closest to. There are other models that bring it a little bit further towards the east, and there are other ones that drive it a little bit further towards the west. So what I want everyone to remember as we kind of take a look at this cone here is that do not fixate on this line. What we need to be looking out for and what we need to be monitoring for is everything that falls inside of that cone. So that's from about Galveston Bay all the way through towards Bay St. Louis, kind of central Mississippi coastline, and everything in between. I think that if certain areas in particular, I would call it about south central to southeast Louisiana, are the areas where you could see the most likely landfall places occurring. Again, that doesn't necessarily leave out southwest Louisiana, which still needs to monitor the storm, and we'll be able to shrink this cone down as we get closer. Now you'll notice that everything is moving very fast. It is currently coming up on midday Thursday, and we are talking over the weekend starting to feel some of those impacts. So what should you be doing right now? Right now, what you want to do is you want to review that hurricane plan. Make sure that if the time comes that you need to act, that you're able to do so quickly. Maybe start bringing in some of the stuff from outside that's easy to grab and kind of pull in. You're going to want everything wrapped up based off of this. You're going to want everything wrapped up by Saturday night. So that gives you a couple of days. That's why we have everyone kind of review their plan so that they can act quickly on it. I will say that we've watched models over the last couple of days, but the models that we're going to get here are going to be more valuable this afternoon than some of the other ones because they have more data going into them. They're able to get the Hurricane Hunter data. They're able to get the data that's coming in from Jamaica as well, which is currently dealing with this storm, and they're going to be providing a better forecast. So look for these changes, look for these trends over the next several runs. We'll get another batch of data from the models that will start coming in probably within the next hour or so. And then again, an hour after that, you'll start to get track updates. Hurricane hunters are going down there right now, and they're going to start flying and telling us what they are seeing there as well. So all of this information is going to start to come together. We're going to be able to start to get a more consistent and a more confident picture of what's going to be happening. But in the meantime, you want to be reviewing your plan and you want to be ready to act, because if you do have to act, you're going to want all of that stuff wrapped up by late Saturday at the very, very latest. And of course, we're going to be monitoring all of this. We're going to bring you as much information as you can. We're going to be with you all the way through until this storm has finally cleared its way out of here. We all kind of knew it was coming. We're getting to that time of year. We live down along the Gulf Coast, and this is something that we deal with, and after last year, we certainly have plenty of experience in dealing with it. Again, we're going to be with you every single step of the way. We'll have more information as it becomes available. Remember, the next round of data will start to come in a little later on this afternoon. Full track update is going to come out at about 4 o'clock, and then Rob will have a look at the impacts once we can get and kind of process some of this data and kind of process what we're seeing. We can start narrowing down some of the impacts and the specific impacts as well. If you look right now and you're interested, there's an article on KATC.com that I wrote this morning, and it breaks down 2 different scenarios, one where the storm goes a little further to the east and one where it comes up right through the Vermilion Bay. And it kind of breaks down the impacts that we're looking at. Those are also subject to change, but as they change, of course, we're going to be there with you, and we're going to bring you that information. So we're going to leave you here. Again, we'll get another little update coming up at about 1 o'clock. We'll start going through some of the new model stuff, which will start to arrive shortly. We'll have a forecast for you coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. Live for Facebook, I'm meteorologist Daniel Phillips.